legislative session. But before I do that, I want to remind you just a little bit about the elections that just took place or continuing to take place. We gained about 23 new members in the Texas House. We gained 3 Republican seats. There are about 8 chairs that are not returning. So there's significant change in the House. But perhaps, proportionately, the greatest change has taken place in the Senate. We have 7 new members so far, and Republicans gained 1 seat in the Senate. However, we're continuing to have special elections. In fact, there are 3 tomorrow. There's 2 House seats and 1 Senate seat. And then, depending on how those races turn out, there should be probably another special election. So, in fact, I don't even have a desk mate right now. The seat is empty. I did move my seat. Most of you all are familiar, if you look at the lectern, I'm on the left side. I used to be, but I'm right near the back mic now. There's a reason to that madness. I didn't want to necessarily be near all the commotion, but if y'all remember when the budget took place last time, I was fighting some of the procedures by which the budget was passed. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but the Speaker was so concerned to pass the budget, and he wasn't sure if he was going to have the votes because there were about 40 of us that voted against it, or at least I tried to. I could not make it back to my seat in time to vote because I was at the back mic, or bringing points of order and arguing against while we were doing things the way we did them. And Scott Turner, who can run the 40-yard dash in about 4.1 seconds, couldn't get to his seat either. So I moved my seat right next to the back mic so I can make my points there and also get to the seat and vote. Well, we have our session begins a week from tomorrow, on the second Tuesday of each odd-numbered year. And this will be the 84th time that the Texas legislature has met. Most of the time that's been in odd years, but if you look back in history, it wasn't quite that simple. On the first day of the session, we elect the Speaker of the House, just like they're going to do tomorrow in the United States House of Representatives. And that'll be a big vote, but it's only the first of many big votes. And I know a lot of y'all are focused on that, and I would like to talk about it for a minute. The Speaker is very powerful, but he's only as powerful as the members of the House allow him to be. The Speaker's powers are invested in the body, not in the office, for the most part. There are some constitutionally based powers. But in the Senate, most of those powers, the presiding officer of the Senate is the lieutenant governor, and those powers are vested in the office. In the House, we basically can determine how things are done, how much power the Speaker has, if he can be overruled, how he chooses the chairman of the committees, what the committee is made up of, lots of things. It's pretty much depend upon the members. And so after we choose the Speaker on Tuesday, on Wednesday, more than likely, we will adopt the House rules. And that's basically where we delegate certain powers to the Speaker. And of course those rules, most of them have been long-standing, but we do make changes in them. And I do have a couple to make. But before I get to that, some of y'all, I'm sure, are interested in my thoughts about the Speaker's race. The Speaker's race is really how we actually form the leadership of the Texas House. If you think about it, if there wasn't a race, if we didn't choose the members, it would be pretty much a strict democracy where just 51% votes would dictate what happens. But when there's a speaker who's elected by the members, they come together and you choose a speaker, and it basically makes a leadership team. And what that does is it weeds out a lot of things. We have a representative government. We don't have a strict democracy. We have a republican form of government. And I think that's a good thing. There has been some talk about electing the speaker popularly. I welcome y'all's input, but I think that would probably be a mistake. I think, though we may be dissatisfied with the current speaker, a lot of people are, I do think it forms a team. And Speaker Strauss is a moderate Republican, and he's a reflection of the Texas House. We just went through the voting records according to several conservative organizations, and it's pretty clear that not all the Republicans are conservatives and liberty-loving, but there's a pretty good breadth. And what happens is the moderate Republicans become the swing vote. They either work with the Democrats on an issue and they form the majority, or they work with some of the more conservative Republicans and liberty-loving Republicans and form a majority, depending on the issue. So Speaker Strauss is a reflection, really, of the makeup of the Texas House. And Scott Turner, who's challenging him, is a good man. He loves the Lord, and he's a conservative, and I know him pretty well. But anything can happen in a speaker's race. I think most of y'all were probably surprised by Louis Gohmert's announcement of him running for the speaker on Sunday. And lots of things can happen at any point in time. The Republican platform calls for there to be a vote in the Republican caucus, and to do that in a secret manner so as to avoid possible retribution from the leadership. I think there's some good things in that. I'm not so sure it's the best thing either. I do believe ultimately we have a good method where we do make votes publicly. Does it lead to possible retribution? Yes. It has happened. Most people, if they're really good at it, though, they don't let you know that they've done it. But I can say that on behalf of Speaker Strauss, that though Representative Hughes and myself ran for Speaker, we got on good committees. So if there was retribution, it wasn't so obvious. And I spoke about it in my withdrawal speech. And Speaker Strauss has made a few changes, which we'll talk about one of them in just a moment. Is he more moderate? Yes. Has he probably cut some deals with the liberal Democrats? Perhaps. Am I disappointed that we didn't get a pro-life bill to the floor during the regular session? Yes. Was I disappointed when during the first special session and we were there on a Friday ready to do what it took to pass HB 2 or whatever it was called during the first special session, and we were sent home to come back on Sunday afternoon so that there would be enough time, only enough time so that a filibuster would be effective in the Senate? Yes. Brian Hughes and myself were at the back mic. We were trying to stay there and work on through the evening and into Saturday if necessary, and to pass the bill and to get it over to the Senate so there wouldn't be time for a filibuster. But that's not what happened. And there are other things that are more difficult to prove. But I want you to know that I give it, your input, a lot of thought, and I will vote on January 13th for the most conservative, capable, liberty-loving candidate who will impartially enforce the rules. There may be another candidate. I'm not That is not a rumor. I'm not trying to start one, okay?